a young, homeless woman, abandoned on the cold streets of Kansas City, with everything lost and no reason to go on. A man of faith stops his car and decides to change her destiny with a simple gesture. He takes her to eat something because she hadn't eaten properly in days. But before redemption comes pain. Before the miracle comes trial. And what happens when two broken souls meet at the exact moment God planned? You won't believe how this story of faith, love, and new beginnings ends. So subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment on where you're watching from. And let's get to the story. It was late afternoon in Kansas City, Missouri. That kind of November afternoon where the sky is half orange, half gray, and the cold starts to cut into your skin. Noah was driving home from work, his old Ford pickup truck cutting down Main Street, tired after a long day fixing plumbing in suburban homes. He was 34, a simple guy, the kind who wore plaid shirts, faded jeans, and work boots. He wasn't rich, he didn't have a college degree, but he had something that many people had lost: genuine faith. Every Sunday he was at Westside Community Church, not to show off, but because he truly believed that God guided his every step. Noah turned on his hazard lights and pulled over. His heart tightened. There, sitting on the sidewalk near an abandoned bus stop, was a young woman, and man, she was surprisingly beautiful. But not that magazine-worthy beauty, you know. It was a natural beauty, somewhat hidden beneath all that suffering. Disheveled brown hair falling over her face, green eyes swollen from crying, torn clothes, a dirty gray sweatshirt, and jeans with a hole in the knee. She was about 23 or 24 maybe, and she was hugging herself, trembling. Beside her, an old, half-open fabric suitcase with clothes spilling out. It was all she had. Noah turned off the engine and got out. He was cautious, but something inside him, something he recognized as the voice of God, told him to go. He approached slowly, like someone who doesn't want to startle an injured animal. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, in that calm voice of someone who truly cares. The young woman looked up, green but lifeless, as if she had spent so much time crying that not a single tear would come out. She just shook her head. No, she wasn't okay. And that was obvious. "Do you need help?" Noah insisted, crouching in front of her. "Are you cold? Are you hungry? Can I take you somewhere? Is there anyone I can call?" It took her a good 10 seconds to answer. When she finally spoke, her voice came out weak and broken. "I don't have anyone." Noah felt a tightness in his chest. He'd seen people on the streets before, of course. Kansas City had its share of homeless people like any big city, but there was something different about it. Something that told him it was recent, that he'd fallen there not long ago, and that he was still in shock. "What's your name?" he asked, taking off his coat and placing it over her shoulders. "Ava," she whispered. "Ava? Nice to meet you, Ava. I'm Noah." He gave a gentle smile. "Look, I don't know what happened, but I know you can't stay here. It's getting colder, and, honestly, it's not safe. There's a diner on the corner, open 24 hours. Let me take you there, buy you something to eat, and we can talk. No strings attached, no pressure. Just let me help." Ava looked at him as if she were trying to decide if she could trust him. But perhaps she had reached a point where it no longer mattered. She had nothing to lose. So she nodded, picked up her suitcase, and let Noah help her up. They got into the pickup truck. Noah turned the heater on full blast. Ava was silent the whole way, looking out the window, hugging his jacket. In 3 minutes, they arrived at Mel's Diner, an old 1950s-style diner with red neon on the facade and that smell of stale coffee and fried bacon. They sat in a corner, at a cracked red Formica table. The waitress, a lady named Brenda who knew Noah from church, looked at him with that, "What are you doing?" look. But he just nodded discreetly. Like, "I'll explain later. Order whatever you want," Noah said, pushing the laminated menu toward Ava. She looked down at her own dirty fingers. She hesitated before speaking, as if she were ashamed. "I don't have any money." "I know. I'm paying. Seriously, order it. When was the last time you ate?" Ava swallowed hard. The day before yesterday, I found half a sandwich in the trash at a Subway. Noah's heart broke right there. He called Brenda. 2 portions of pancakes, scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, orange juice, and coffee. Bring it quickly, please. Brenda took notes and left. Ava stared at the table, trying not to break down again. Noah waited. He wasn't going to force her to talk. But he prayed silently, asking God for wisdom, for the right words. The food arrived quickly. Ava ate slowly at first, as if she'd forgotten how to do it. Then she started eating faster, and Noah saw that she was embarrassed to seem desperate, but she was, and that was okay. Take your time, he said, sipping his coffee. After about 15 minutes, with her plate almost empty, Ava finally spoke. Why are you doing this? Noah shrugged. Because I think God put you in my path, and because, well, I know what it's like to feel lost. Ava gave a bitter laugh. You know nothing about me. True, but if you want to tell me, I'll listen. She was silent for a while. Then, like a dam finally giving way, she started talking. And boy, what came out of her was painful to hear. Ava had come to Kansas City 2 years ago from a small town in Arkansas. She had grown up in a dysfunctional family, with an alcoholic father and a mother who had left when she was 12. At 18, she ran away from home to try her luck in the big city. She got a job at a coffee shop and shared a tiny apartment with 2 roommates. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She was trying, attending community college at night, dreaming of becoming a graphic designer. She had plans. She had hope, but then the pandemic hit. The coffee shop closed. She lost her job. Her savings ran out quickly. Her roommates moved out. She tried to manage on her own, but 3 months of rent were overdue, and the landlord evicted her. Without proper warning, without any pity, she returned home one day to find a new padlock on the door and her belongings in a suitcase on the sidewalk. I tried calling my friends, she said, her voice trembling, but most of them had disappeared. Some changed their numbers. Others, they just didn't want to know. I tried shelters, but they were full. I tried assistance programs, but there are waiting lists months long. I tried. Noah, I swear I tried. I know you tried, Noah said softly, but it didn't help at all. Ava wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I've been on the streets for a week, and man, it's horrible. You have no idea. People look at you like you're trash, like you chose this. This morning, a guy spat on me, literally spat, because I asked him for $1. Noah clenched his fists under the table, trying to control the anger he felt. Not anger at her, anger at the world, at the cruelty, at the indifference. I was standing there on that sidewalk thinking. Ava paused, took a deep breath, thinking about whether it was worth continuing. If it wouldn't be better to just end it, Ava, my life is over. Noah, I'm 24 years old and my life is over. Noah reached across the table and took her hand. She didn't pull away. She just let it be, as if it were the first time in days that someone had touched her with such kindness. Listen, he said, looking straight into her tired green eyes. I know it feels like it's over. I know it feels like there's no way out. But I've learned one thing in life, Ava. God's greatest stories begin precisely in the moments when we think it's the end. When Moses was trapped in the Red Sea, when David was alone against Goliath, when Jesus was on the cross and everyone thought it was over, it was there, in that despair, that the miracle was being prepared. Ava shook her head. I don't believe in God. That's fine. But he believes in you. She gave a sad laugh. But in her eyes, Noah saw something. A spark. Small, almost imperceptible. But it was there. Hope. Noah paid the bill and looked at Ava. Look, I know you don't know me, and I understand if you don't trust me, but I have a spare room in my house. It's small, it's simple, but it has a bed, a hot shower, and food. You can stay there tonight. We'll see what to do tomorrow. No strings attached. Just, at least tonight, you'll sleep in a safe place. Ava stared at him for a long time. She had every right to be suspicious. How many stories must she have heard about nice men who offered help and then demanded payment in horrible ways? But there was something about Noah. Maybe it was his voice, calm and without ulterior motives. Maybe it was the way he looked at her, not with pity, but with genuine respect. Or maybe she had simply reached a point where anything was better than another night on the street. "Okay," she whispered finally. "But only today. Just for today." Noah agreed, though in his heart he already knew that God had bigger plans. Noah's house was in Independence, a working-class suburb of Kansas City. It was a small two-bedroom house, painted a faded white, with a wooden porch and a lawn that needed mowing. It wasn't much, but it was honest. Just like him. When they entered, Ava stood still in the living room, clutching her bag as if she still couldn't believe it was real. The house smelled of stale coffee and had simple decor: a worn brown sofa, an old TV, family photos on the wall, and, in the corner, a large Bible on a small table. "The room is over there," Noah pointed to the hallway. "There are clean sheets on the bed, towels in the bathroom cabinet. You can take a shower. Relax. I'll make some tea. Do you like tea?" Ava simply nodded, still somewhat in shock. She went to her room, closed the door slowly, and for the first time in a week, felt safe. She took the longest shower of her life. She cried under the shower, letting all the pain, the humiliation, the despair wash away with the hot water. When she got out, wearing old but clean clothes that Noah had left by the door, one of his oversized t-shirts and sweatpants, she looked at herself in the fogged mirror. She barely recognized herself, but at least in that moment she seemed human again. She found Noah in the kitchen, preparing 2 cups of chamomile tea. He had added honey and lemon, just like his grandmother used to do when he was a child. "Better?" he asked, handing her a mug. "Much better. Thank you, Noah, really." They sat on the sofa in comfortable silence for a few minutes, simply drinking their tea. Then Noah spoke. "Tomorrow is Sunday. I always go to church in the morning. If you want to come with me, you're welcome. If not, no problem. But sometimes it helps, to be around good people, to hear some words of hope." Ava hesitated. "I was never much of a churchgoer." "It doesn't have to be. You just need to be open to listening." She thought for a moment. And then, surprisingly, she agreed. "Okay, I'll go." On Sunday morning, Noah and Ava entered Westside Community Church. It was a small church in an old, renovated building, with a capacity of about 200 people. It had no luxuries, but it was full of life. People greeted Noah with warm hugs and looked at Ava with curiosity, but without judgment. The pastor, a black man in his 50s named Pastor James, had the kind of presence that makes you feel at home. The sermon that day was about the prodigal son, about how no matter how far you've gone, no matter how lost you are, there's always a way back. There's always a father waiting with open arms. Ava tried not to cry during the sermon, but when the pastor said, "You think your life is over, but God is saying, I'm just getting started with you," she couldn't hold back. The tears fell, silent and warm. Noah, sitting next to her, discreetly passed her a tissue. She took it, grateful. After the service, Pastor James went straight to them. "Noah, my brother, how are you?" He shook Noah's hand warmly, then looked at Ava with a gentle smile. "And who is this young lady?" "This is Ava. She's going through a tough time and will be staying with me for a while." Pastor James nodded, understanding without needing details. He had seen many such cases over the years. "Ava, welcome. If you need anything, to talk, to pray, or just to have a coffee, my door is always open." Ava felt something strange, acceptance, no intrusive questions, no judgment, no pity, just acceptance. In the following days, something began to change. Noah didn't pressure Ava into anything. He would wake up early, go to work, leave coffee ready, and a simple note on the table: "Help yourself. I'll be back at 6. Ava, alone in the house during the day, began to tidy things up. She cleaned, organized, cooked. Not because he asked her to, but because she needed to feel useful. I needed to feel like I wasn't a burden. A week passed. Then 2. Noah never mentioned her leaving. Ava never asked if she could stay. It was as if a silent agreement had been made between them. Noah started taking her to Wednesday night services as well. Ava began reading the Bible Noah had left on the nightstand in her room. Not out of obligation, but out of curiosity. The stories were interesting, full of broken people who were used for incredible things. David was a shepherd. Moses was a fugitive murderer. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Paul killed Christians, and all of them were transformed, used, redeemed. A month later, Noah came home with a proposal. Ava, I need help with work. It's nothing sophisticated, just administrative work, answering the phone, scheduling appointments, organizing paperwork. It pays $8 an hour to start, and you can work from my home office. What do you think? Ava's eyes filled with tears. Noah, you don't have to do this. I know, but I want to. And honestly, I need the help. The business is growing and I'm lost with the bureaucratic side of things. It was a lie. Or at least, half the truth. He managed perfectly well on his own, but he could see that Ava needed that. She needed purpose, routine, dignity. Ava accepted. And for the first time in months, she felt alive again. She worked hard, learned quickly, and was organized. Noah was impressed. She had a natural gift for it. More than that, she possessed an intelligence that had been wasted on the streets. Months passed. Ava continued going to church with Noah. She began to make friends there. Some women from the congregation, like Sister Patricia and Sister Michelle, took her under their wing. They took her out to lunch, talked about life, about faith, about God. Ava still had doubts, still struggled with the idea of a God who allowed bad things to happen. But something inside her was changing, slowly, like a flower opening petal by petal. And also, something was changing between her and Noah. At first, it was just gratitude. Then it turned into friendship. But over time, it became something else. They would talk for hours at night, about everything and nothing. Noah would tell her about his childhood, about how he lost his parents in a car accident when he was 20, about how he almost lost his faith but was rescued by the church. Ava would talk about her dreams, about graphic design, about wanting to create beautiful things in a world that was often ugly. They laughed together. They cooked together. They watched old movies together on the worn-out couch. And at some point, without realizing exactly when, they began to see each other differently. Noah noticed how her green eyes sparkled when she truly smiled, how she bit her lower lip when she was concentrating, how she had a habit of twirling a strand of hair around her finger when she was nervous. Ava realized how genuinely good Noah was, not out of religious obligation, but because that was who he was at heart. How he always saved the last pancake for her. How he worried about whether she had eaten, if she was okay, if she needed anything. How he looked at her, not with superficial desire, but with something deeper. Respect, admiration, and perhaps love. It was on a spring night, 6 months after that day on the sidewalk, that everything changed. They were on the front porch, sitting on the steps, looking at the stars. The air was warm, smelling of freshly cut grass and wildflowers. A gentle breeze rustled the trees. It was one of those perfect moments, you know? The kind you want to pause and relive forever. Noah, Ava said suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence. Why did you do that? What did he do? Everything. You took me off the streets. You gave me a home, a job, a chance. You didn't even know me. I could have been anything, dangerous, crazy, and you just saved me. Why? Noah was quiet for a moment, thinking about the answer. Then he looked at her, and in her calm brown eyes, he saw something he had known for weeks, but was afraid to admit. At first, I thought it was just obedience, that God was asking me to help and I was obeying. But the truth, Ava, the truth is, I fell in love with you, with your strength, your courage, the way you rose again when everyone else would have given up. You are the most incredible person I have ever met. Ava's heart stopped. She looked at him, speechless. And then, Without thinking, she leaned in and kissed him. It was a soft kiss, hesitant at first, then deeper, full of everything they hadn't been able to say in words. Gratitude, yes, but also love, real, pure, impossible to deny. When they parted ways, Ava smiled for the first time with that kind of smile that lights up everything around her. I fell in love with you too, Noah. I don't know when it happened. I just know it happened. They dated for a year. And it wasn't like movie romances, no, it was better. It was real. They argued sometimes because real people argue. Ava still had difficult days when depression and trauma returned like waves. Days when she woke up and felt like she was back on that sidewalk, worthless, without a future. But Noah was always there, not with ready-made answers or empty words, but with presence, with a hand to hold, with faith to lend when hers was lacking. Ava was baptized in church on a rainy autumn Sunday. She came out of the water with tears in her eyes, but this time they were tears of joy. She finally understood. It wasn't about being perfect. It wasn't about having all the answers. It was about trusting, about knowing that even when you're falling, there's someone holding you, and that someone is God. The marriage proposal came on a simple night. They were at Mel's diner, at the same red Formica table where it all began. Noah excused himself, went to the counter, and chatted briefly with Brenda. She smiled, nodded, and turned off the main lights, leaving only the red and blue neon lights outside illuminating the place. Noah went back to the table, knelt down right there on the worn floor of that old diner, and took a small box out of his pocket. Ava, I don't have much to offer you. I'm not rich. I'm not famous. I can't give you a life of luxury. But I can promise you one thing. I will love you every day of my life. In good times and bad. When it's easy and when it's hard. Will you marry me? Ava couldn't speak. She could only cry and nod repeatedly. Noah placed the simple gold ring on her finger and pulled her into a tight hug. Brenda applauded from the counter, wiping her own eyes. Other customers who had noticed what was happening also applauded. The wedding was small, at Westside Community Church, with only close friends and church family present. Ava wore a simple white dress that the church sisters helped her choose. Noah wore the only suit he owned, somewhat fitted at the shoulders, but decent. Pastor James conducted the ceremony with his characteristic wide smile, and when he said, "You may kiss the bride," the entire church erupted in applause and shouts of, "Glory to God." Their honeymoon was a 3-day trip to Branson, Missouri. Nothing extravagant, but perfect. They walked hand in hand, laughed, talked, and dreamed about the future. They spoke about having children someday, about continuing to serve in the church, about using their story to help others. And they did exactly that. Noah and Ava started a ministry at their church focused on homeless people. Every Friday night, they prepared meals and distributed them on the streets of Kansas City. But more than food, they offered dignity, conversation, hope. Ava looked into each person's eyes and saw herself months before. And she said in a firm voice, "I know it seems like it's over, but it's not over. God has a plan for you, and it can begin today." Some people laughed at her, others cursed, but others listened. And some of them started going to church. Some of them changed their lives, and every time that happened, Ava and Noah cried tears of joy, knowing that God was using their pain to heal the pain of others. 2 years after the wedding, Ava became pregnant. When she saw the positive test, she fell to her knees right there in the bathroom and thanked God. She who thought she would never have a family. She who thought she would die alone on a cold sidewalk. Now, life was being created inside her. When the baby was born, a beautiful girl with green eyes like her mother's, they named her Grace. Grace. Because that's what it had all been. Undeserved, unexpected, but completely transformative grace. One Sunday morning, with Grace in her arms and Noah by her side, Ava looked around the church. She saw people singing, worshiping, living. She saw Pastor James preaching with passion. She saw the sisters who welcomed her, She saw the homeless who now had hope. And she remembered that day, years ago, when she was sitting on the sidewalk with an old suitcase, thinking she had reached the end. Little did she know that it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. God had seen her there, broken, hopeless, with nothing. And he had sent Noah, a simple plumber with a humble heart, who obeyed God's voice and stopped the car. And from that unlikely encounter, from that simple obedience, God wove a story of redemption, love, and purpose. Ava closed her eyes and whispered a prayer. Thank you, Lord, for not giving up on me when I gave up on myself, for sending an angel in the form of a plumber, for transforming my greatest pain into my greatest testimony. I was lost, but I was found. I was dead, but I was resurrected. And now, I live, truly. Noah held her hand and smiled. He didn't need to say anything. They knew. That story wasn't about them. It was about a God who sees the invisible, who lifts up the fallen, who transforms misery into ministry. It was about a God who never, ever gives up on any of his children. And as Ava held her daughter and gazed at the husband God had prepared for her from the beginning, a powerful truth filled her heart. When you think it's all over, when the lights go out and you see no way out, that's exactly when God begins his greatest work. Because miracles don't happen on easy days. They happen on cold sidewalks, in moments of despair, when all that remains is a last gasp of hope. And sometimes, all God needs is someone willing to obey, to stop the car, to extend a hand. Sometimes, saving a life is as simple as asking, "Do you need help?" And to believe that the answer could change two destinies forever. Today, Noah and Ava continue serving together, using their story to show that no life is disposable in God's eyes. They prove that a simple act of obedience can unleash miracles that echo forever. When Ava looks back, she no longer sees the cold sidewalk as the end. She sees it as the beginning of the greatest gift God could give, a second chance to live, to love, to be loved. And it all began when a man of faith decided to believe that this broken young woman was worthy of being saved. If this story touched you, leave a like, comment what you thought, and subscribe to keep hearing stories like this. Because we never know when God will put us in the path of someone who needs exactly what we have to give.